Starting us off at number 10 is Hezbollah. Now if you're unaware, Hezbollah is essentially a Shia Islamist political party and militant group in Lebanon. During the 2006 Israel-Lebanon war, Israel actually hijacked a satellite transmission for Hezbollah's own Al-Manar TV to broadcast their own anti-Hezbollah propaganda. The boldest move of the interruption was showing the leader of the group, Hassan Nasrallah, with crosshairs over his face and 3 gunshots in the background with a voice going, "Your day is coming." Like, that's a very bold thing to hack and broadcast as a political statement. Militant groups don't take things like this lightly, and Hezbollah is no exception. And including the fact that the whole contention between Israel and the Middle East over Palestine is all just like, honestly, let's just add more fuel to the fire. Screw it, Hezbollah, you're going down. Coming in at number 9 is the fake alert. So this one took place back in April of 2018 in the popular neighborhood of Osborne Village in Winnipeg, Canada. A loudspeaker started blaring out this message: all Canadian residents should seek out a fallout shelter immediately. If members of the Canadian Armed Forces direct you to a fallout shelter, please follow them for your safety. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be speaking on all stations shortly. And this was a loud ass alert, so you didn't even have to be in the area in order to hear it. People started running from coffee shops, dropping their belongings, trying to figure out how much time they had before the police issued a statement saying it wasn't an official alert and was actually played through a home speaker system. Even the Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization listened to the audio, admitting it sounded extremely real, especially with the references to Trudeau. Can you imagine everyone losing their shit and the police is like, that was fake, that was played out at a home stereo? At number 8 we have the social media Amber Alert. So this one absolutely broke my heart, because how can someone even do this? But either way, it took place in Toronto back in March of 2016. A father called the police in the afternoon after his 3-month-old baby and car was stolen. Apparently he had driven the car to this flea market and the baby was in the back seat and the car was still running when it was stolen. The dad chased after the car, but eventually it was out of sight. Man versus car. You can only chase for so long. The Amber Alert went out and officers from different neighborhoods were put on the case to assist the 23 officers already searching. Constable Craig Brister tweeted out the Amber Alert and it was retweeted more than 1,000 times. Twitter had gone crazy trying to urge everyone to keep an eye out for the baby, and eventually the vehicle was found in a parking lot with the sleeping baby in the back. The suspect got away though in the end, but as long as the baby was safe, I don't really care what happens to this guy. Unless obviously he strikes again, then we need to take him down. ASAP Rocky. Filling at number 7 slot is Jesus Christ. So this one happened in Australia back in 2007 during the broadcast of Canadian TV show Mayday on Channel 7. Midway through the show, the screen went black and a haunting audio loop started playing for 6 minutes over and over again. The audio was saying, "Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord."
Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord. Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord. Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord. Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord.
As the words were also continuously flashing on the screen. It turns out the audio was taken from a news program that had aired the year before, and it was from a man pleading for his life as insurgents opened fire on his truck. We still to this day don't know if it was just a glitch or it was intentional, but honestly this isn't the first time hackers have done stuff like this, and I assure you it won't be the last, so I 100% think it was intentional. That's just me. Personally, my personal opinion. Now at number 6 is the low voice. Not my own, because I know I have one. No, somebody else. So back in October of 2017, radio station K94.5 in LA started getting a lot of questions from listeners about a creepy voice they heard on the radio the previous day. The extremely low-pitched voice was heard on select stations and it was just listing off states. But imagine hearing that while casually listening to the radio. You'd be like, what the hell is that? Is that a hit list? Like, is Montana on there? Like, turns out it was an EAS test that wasn't meant to go over the airwaves, but a glitch in some of the radio stations caused it to anyway. The weekly test is sent to local radio station by common alerting protocol, and they're meant to be decoded by each station but never aired. So I mean, false alarm, but still, imagine that. Imagine you're just vibing to Sorry by Justin Bieber and all of a sudden it's like Virginia, West Virginia, Texas. It's like, dude. That part of the lyrics? I didn't know that. Coming in at number 5 is the intent to take. So in May of 2019, an Amber Alert was sent out looking for William Gooden, a 3-year-old boy said to be abducted by his mum Brianna. The two were apparently wandering around Rainbow Center Mall and was supposed to be dropped off back to his grandma, who was his official guardian. But the mother and kid failed to show up, so naturally the grandma called the police. Ain't nobody taking my kid today. Police started scrambling, looking at places the mum frequented, including the Greyhound station, which is essentially just a bus service in Canada. Is it in America? I'm not really sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Either way, at 3 AM that night, an employee confirmed to the police that the two had been seen boarding a bus going to Toronto from Sudbury. 3 alerts were sent out throughout the day, so you can imagine how scared everyone was just getting these alerts in the middle of the night trying to find this missing kid. The boy was found at 7:30 AM after a tip came in from his own mum, and police never really concluded whether her intent was to kidnap him or not. Maybe it was a day field trip to Toronto, I don't know. Still weird the fact she was the one who phoned in her own tip. Like, oh, I found the woman with the missing kid. At number 4 is the New York frenzy. Back in September of 2016, New Yorkers got an emergency alert in the morning that said this: Wanted Ahmed Khan Rahami, 28-year-old male. See media for pic. Call 911 if seen. Along with a piercing tone is so bad it'd probably wake up the dead. I'm not even lying to you right now. The alert was in regards to the attack on Chelsea that happened on the Saturday beforehand that injured more than 24 people. Now usually wireless emergency alerts have 3 purposes. They're either from the president, they're Amber Alerts, or they're to do with imminent threats to the public's safety. This alert was none of those things, and how unprofessional to be like, see media for picture, which literally means Google it and treat anyone that looks like they could be Muslim or called Ahmed like utter sh**. We EAs are limited to 90 characters, which is even shorter than a tweet, you guys. Surely that has to be changed. Their geotagging is also very poor, meaning it alerts people nowhere near the desired epicenter. But as you can imagine, anyone getting the alert flipped sh**, and rightfully so. Filling at number 3 slot is the San Jose Man. So back in September of 2019, a statewide Amber Alert was issued in Cambria after a man was suspected of abducting his 2-year-old daughter. The police was called after a woman was heard screaming in a house. When they finally arrived, they found the woman with a stab wound, claiming her boyfriend Victor Magana had stabbed her and taken their kid. The alert warned everyone to not approach Victor if they do see him around. He ended up being recognized at a gas station by clerk Cody Tarver, who then called the police while customers tried to stall Victor. They ended up physically restraining him until officers got there, all the while as he screamed, "That's not me, it's not me." Plot twist, it was him. Now at number 2 is Virginia Tech campus. This one's from Diana Jones Cox, who shared the story on Quora back in 2018. Diana shared that she lives quite close to the Virginia Tech campus, and the area already had issues with an escaped prisoner killing people as well as gun carriers on campus, both of which are just very problematic, but I'm just going to sweep that under the rug for a second. In April of 2007, a student on campus shot 33 people, and Diana was one of many people that got the high alert about the situation. Everyone was freaking out, not knowing all the full details or where the shooter even was. Diana was watching from her office as police car after ambulance was rushing to the campus. Phone lines were jammed because of how many people were calling. The whole thing was anarchy and all very real. Imagine being there, getting the high alert when all of this was actually happening, and that is a lot to deal with. It was one of the deadliest school shootings for a very long time, just FYI. And finally, at number 1 is hatefulness. On the 20th of February 1971, US citizens were in a widespread panic due to a federal alert test gone wrong, making them think a nuclear war was about to occur. The alert system used to get tested every Saturday, but on that particular Saturday, a real message came over the teletype network that sits inside every single TV and radio station. This was the message. The message read as follows: "This is an emergency action notification directed by the president. Normal broadcasting will cease immediately." Hatefulness was also used before the message, and that was that day's special code word that broadcasters knew to mean the message was real. Not a drill, people, this is not a drill. Immediately, programming was cut and no one was keeping their exposure. It was bad. Listeners started calling in, people started fearing the worst, but thankfully 40 minutes later the Office of Civil Defense sent a cancellation message with the right code word, impish, which is, I mean, it's kind of borderline ironic, isn't it?
Alright, let's get this list started. And at number 10, radiological emergency alert. Over in Georgia, Atlanta, people's phones were buzzing and going off with an alert that says, EAS radiological hazard warning, this is a test. The alert was sent around 8 in the morning, and people in the area were losing their minds. They actually believed that there was some form of like a deadly radiation exposure. Some people were complaining that when they heard this warning on their TVs or radios, it actually didn't mention anything about it, only being a test. They thought this was for real. This was happening. This would for sure freak me out, and I definitely wouldn't leave my house until the news said that, it was all clear. I'd be calling in sick into work and taking a paid radiological emergency day. Take shelter emergency alert tackles its way into this list at number 9. Verizon accidentally sent a scary alert to its customers telling people to take shelter. Well, that's a pretty big mess up. Well, you're looking at the alert right now. It says civil emergency in this area until 1:24 p.m. EST time. Take shelter now, US govern. I have so many questions. First of all, why is this message even pre-written? And why is there an exact time of 1:24 p.m.? I would be scared out of my mind if I saw this message. No one thought that this was just an accident because things like this just don't happen. Well, Verizon took blame for this, and let's just say that if I was a Verizon customer, I'd be switching cell phone providers. Up next on our list at number 8, broken outdoor warning signal. Alright guys, it's time to brace yourselves for this one. You're about to hear a very scary sound. Could you imagine being asleep and then hearing this ominous alarm blast off in the middle of the night? It's definitely not how I would want to be woken up. In fact, I don't ever want to be woken up. I just want to wake up when I wake up. But in this situation, I'd probably jump out of bed or hide under the sheets because I'd be convinced that the end of the world was about to happen. And then it sounds like the signal is dying out at some parts. I guess he doesn't even want to hear the sound coming from his speaker either. San Francisco tsunami alarm storms its way onto this list at number 7. How are people still walking on the streets so calmly? I guess people living in San Francisco, well, I guess they're used to hearing the testing of the tsunami alarm, but as a tourist, I would either die instantly from a heart attack, or I would be trying to find a safe place to take shelter. This alarm sounds like something bad is gonna happen, and I wouldn't want to wait around to see what bad thing is about to happen. Next up at number 6, the very vague outdoor emergency alert.
Attention! An emergency is occurring. Please stay inside. Tune into local area radio and TV stations for further information.
Is this real life right now? There's literally zero details about what's happening. What is the emergency that they're talking about? And why do I have to stay inside? This alarm is making me feel super uncomfortable, but as it turns out, this outdoor warning system malfunctioned and self-activated in the early hours of the morning. Maybe someone desperately didn't want to go into work, so they hacked the system. If that's the case, then I have so much respect for them. Scary tornado alert takes us to number 5. This next alarm is a pretty airy one because it can be heard echoing all over Dodge City, Kansas. Well, I found the clip for you guys. Enjoy this.
They are going about their daily business when tornado warnings are issued. Most people seek shelter, then information, but some take to the streets disoriented.
Okay, America, what the heck is up with your sirens? Why do they have to be so terrified? All I have to say is, if I saw this tornado coming, I'd get the hell out of Dodge. Get it? The city's name is Dodge. Okay, all the dad jokes aside, what? I'm practicing here, guys. I'm about to be a father. Well, the tornado was probably making a beeline for the city, heard the alarm, and was like, nah, I'm turning around, going somewhere else. I'm heading to Canada. 156 emergency sirens go off simultaneously, and this brings us to number 4. People were panicking in Dallas when an evil hacker set off 156 emergency sirens over the weekend.
At 11:42 p.m. Friday, the sirens are supposed to warn about approaching tornadoes, but there were no tornadoes. This is terribly freaky. Some even feared it might be a terrorist attack coming on the heels of the U.S. missile launch against Syria.
The alarms blasted off at 11:42 p.m. on Friday night, and although officials managed to shut them off, the hacker turned them back on. This went on for more than a dozen times throughout the night, and I guess it's safe to say that almost everyone in Dallas didn't get their beauty sleep that night. People were starting to think that terrorists were about to attack, but thankfully it was just a lonely hacker who clearly doesn't have anything better to do with their time. don't have anything better to do with their lives. Moving things along, in number 3, we have a nuclear attack warning against Canada and the United States. I'm not gonna lie, this warning would send me into complete panic mode. Maybe I should see something about how easily scared I am. Well, anyways, this was the alert. Speakers were blaring this warning of an imminent nuclear attack against Canadians over in a popular Winnipeg neighborhood. The alert even went on to say this: all Canadian residents should seek out a fallout shelter immediately. If members of the Canadian Armed Forces direct you to a fallout shelter, please follow them for your safety. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be speaking on all stations shortly. Well, this sounds pretty legit to me, but this cryptic message was nothing more than a prank. Probably a prank by President Donald Trump, trying to get rid of Justin Trudeau. Next up on our list, number 2, we have the purge announcements. This doesn't sound that good. I know this alarm isn't technically real, but it does send chills down my spine whenever I hear it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the US government.
Okay, what would you guys be doing if the purge was real? I mean, you're hearing that siren going off and it's time to purge. Let me know what you guys would do in the purge in the comment section below. But to be honest, if all crimes were illegal for 12 hours, I'd probably hit up my favorite store and grab whatever I'm able to carry. I'd probably break into a store, grab a lot of Pokemon cards, go in the Apple store, grab a few headphones. But I know a lot of crazy people would attempt to raid Area 51 because you can't get arrested on Purge Day, and there's a lot of people who are curious to find out what's down there. And of course, this might be the biggest massacre in history. Air raid sirens in Israel tops this list at number 1. People are literally running on the streets because they know exactly what this alarm means. This warning signals that incoming rockets are on their way. But thankfully, Israel has something called the Iron Dome, which is the defense system that was designed to intercept fired rockets. But still, I couldn't imagine living in a place where this is the norm. These people are living in constant fear, and they never really know how safe they are. Starting us off, in at number 10, we have the tsunami siren in Maui. Imagine you're on a nice sandy beach in Maui sipping on Mai Tais when all of a sudden you begin to hear this obnoxious siren. This terrifying sound can be heard on the first working day of each month at 11:45 a.m. The siren goes on for 50 seconds with a 20-second break followed by a 50-second wailing tone. But if I was visiting Hawaii, as a tourist, I would honestly think that the world is ending and I'm about to die. I would go in full panic mode and my survival instincts would kick into high gear if I have survival instincts. As it turns out, this is a tsunami alarm, but there's just something about its high-pitched death wail that doesn't sit right with me. Amber Alert scares everyone in Ontario, Canada. That's where I live. This takes us to number 9. If any of you guys live in Toronto, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. In May of 2018, an Amber Alert was sent for an 8-year-old girl who was last seen in Gorham Township near Thunder Bay. Well, nearly everyone in Toronto was freaking out because everyone was sent this scary alarm at the exact same time. And in case you guys were wondering, this is what it sounded like. It basically sounds like a nuclear explosion is about to happen. I bet there were so many car accidents that day because people were startled, and I think a lot of people nearly peed their pants. The Amber Alert is super important and it doesn't happen that often. But because of this incident, they've decided to not have a provincial-wide Amber Alert. So if you aren't in the immediate area where the Amber Alert is being broadcasted, you will receive a push notification instead. From there, let's move on to number 8. We're talking about the time when aliens hacked a British TV show. I kid you not, on the night of November 26, 1977, a news program was interrupted by the voice of Vrillon, which was supposedly an alien from the Ashtar Galactic Command. And this is what he had to say.
For many years you have seen us as knights and servants. We speak to you now. Yourselves, unless we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth.
He goes on to say that they've been watching us for years, and now we know that they are here. He also said that there are more aliens here on Earth that our scientists don't want to admit. Even though this was a hoax written all over it, so many people believe that this was real and they were losing their minds because they thought that aliens were going to invade Earth and wipe out the human race. But you know what? I'm not ruling that out quite yet. Jumping into number 7, we have the end of the world warning. Apparently people were predicting that on Saturday, September 23rd, 2017, which was not too long ago, a new planet was going to collide with Earth, and this impact would be catastrophic enough to destroy us. This emergency alert was broadcasted all over LA, and it caused a ton of people to panic. Even though it was later revealed to be nothing more than a hoax, doomsday cults were in full effect, and people were preparing for the end of the world. I'm pretty sure if a large planet was on its way to, hitting Earth, we'd hear about it a lot sooner and we'd probably be able to see it coming. Zombie alert on the Steve Wilkos show creeps us in at number 6. People over in Montana thought that the zombie apocalypse was being televised back 2013, and that's because during the Steve Wilkos show, people hacked into the station's emergency announcement system and warned them that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves. Well, you know what? Let's take a listen for ourselves.
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available.
And you know what? I think a lot of people were probably gullible enough to fall for this. The warning went on to say that you should not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous. I bet the local police department got a lot of calls that day. A creepy World War II German air raid siren makes its way onto this list at number 5. What you're about to hear is a siren that was made by Elector back in the 1930s. Is it just me, or does this sound like Leatherface is coming to kill us? Well, let's take a step back for a minute. Could you imagine what it was like to live back then? You can literally be sleeping, and in the middle of the night, you were abruptly woken up by this chilling sound that would send you into a complete panic. Because if you heard this alarm, it meant that bombs are about to drop from the sky and it's all over. Tornado siren in Chicago brings us to number 4. I feel like this siren is a good representation of what an ice cream truck from hell would sound like. Why would Chicago pick this as their tornado warning sign? It's gotta be one of the most unsettling things that I've ever heard. How are people from Chicago okay with this? This siren would absolutely terrify me, and I'd probably consider moving to another state if I heard this. This is probably why tornadoes don't usually hit Chicago, because they're afraid of the sirens. Moving on to number 3, we have the incoming rocket siren.
Incoming, incoming, incoming.
I saw the light, the flash.
So that siren alone was scary enough, but then this rocket siren takes things one step further, adding a robotic voice that repeats incoming, incoming, incoming. I'm pretty sure this siren does nothing more than cause a ton more stress and panic to those people living in Afghanistan. Oh, and if you're in Afghanistan and you hear this siren, you better duck down, cover yourselves, because this siren means that there is a threat of missiles raining down from above. And over in Afghanistan, because of all the wars going on, it happens more often than you would think. 38 minutes of terror in Hawaii crashes onto our list at number 2. Do you guys remember that time when someone accidentally triggered a false missile alert in Hawaii that caused everyone to panic? And this kind of came after the huge tension with North Korea and America, so we thought that this was real. It was very plausible. People were running from their cars, they were crawling in public spaces trying to find a safe place to go, and people were huddled around their TVs waiting to hear more about this threat. This is the emergency alert that caused the 38 minutes of terror in Hawaii.
Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Now, this is a warning that was sent to people's phones. They showed up on their TVs. They played on the radio stations across the state.
State officials say all of this panic was caused by someone hitting the wrong button.
And now, coming in at number 1 on our list, we have the incoming missile attack warning. Take a look at this very scary emergency siren.
The air siren did not go, and it's going on now, so we're just gonna duck a little bit. The air siren is now, usually there's about 10 to 15 seconds. We can hear the noise. I cannot see it, but what we can see is a trail of rockets in the sky. We're not really sure where it's heading.
People all over Israel are used to hearing this missile attack warning, and they know that they better take cover because a missile warning is in full effect. I couldn't imagine on how much terror or fear that they must feel every time that this siren goes off. I would definitely have PTSD.